So yesterday, after the post-game show here at PHLY, I got in my car, said goodbye to Andrew, I drove home. I know music was on the radio or on my phone, but I got to be honest with you, I can't remember what song played or what band was on. Something played, but I kind of just drove home with that white knuckle grip on the steering wheel, with that glazed over look in my eyes, the one where you start driving and 3 miles later, you realize you checked out for, a good mile and a half. That's kind of where I was. I went home. I went to bed. I woke up this morning, and I don't feel any better. I don't feel any better. And in fact, I got to be honest with you, I actually feel worse. And the reason that I feel worse this morning and this afternoon compared to what it was last night I was angry. Last night, there were things in the game that got me really frustrated. And last night, the final play of the game, I was very, very upset about. It wasn't the reason the Phillies lost, but there was a bunch of reasons as to why the Phillies lost yesterday and as to why the Phillies lost this series in 4 games to the Dodgers. But I was angry. This morning, I woke up despondent. I woke up upset, but it was discouraging. It was kind of like that old adage that when your parents used to say to you, "I'm not mad, I'm disappointed." I always tell people when my dad, when he got mad at me, when he yelled at me, I knew I was in trouble, but I knew there was like a level to trouble. When my dad got silent treatment with me, when he got like that just furrowed brow, angry look in his eyes, that's when I knew that I was really, really in trouble. And I woke up this morning not screaming, not cursing, not, old man yells at clouds. I woke up this morning just disappointed. Disappointed in another postseason run that we hoped was going to go quite some time and ended up going 4 games in 7 days. A postseason run that started on October 4th and ended on October 9th. A postseason run that was filled with incredible pitching performances and lackluster, dare I say, lifeless, pretty much throughout the series, offensive performances. This one's going to sit on us for a while. This is not to discredit the Dodgers. The Dodgers are probably the best roster in baseball. The Dodgers are a $1 billion payroll. The Dodgers battled injuries and maybe a little bit of regular season apathy to a 90-plus win season to win the NL West for what feels like the billionth time in a row. And they had to play a wild card round. And they played 2 games and basically said, this is where we decide that we are going to kick it into overdrive. This is where we tell you that we are the best team in baseball. This is where we tell you we are the team that everybody expected us to be, a team that's looking to repeat as World Series champs, the first World Series repeat in over 20 years. There's a good chance that it happens. They are the best team in baseball. There is no question about it that Tyler Glasnow and Blake Snell and Shohei Ohtani and Roki Sasaki dominated the Phillies bats, and there's a lot of credit to be given to that pitching staff for what they did. But my disappointment lies within the Phillies today. My disappointment lies solely on the Phillies offense and the lackluster performances that we saw for 3 out of 4 games. Strictly, or specifically, I should say, the top 3. What's up, everybody? Welcome into the PHLY Phillies podcast. It's the day after show of the Phillies dropping Game 4 of the NLDS and losing the series to the LA Dodgers 3-1. Not just the second year in a row the Phillies lost in the NLDS, but the second year in a row they lost in 4 games, last year losing to the New York Mets. And it doesn't feel like there's a glimmer of hope right now. We'll have plenty of time to talk about the offseason. Who stays, who goes, what does the manager decision look like in 2026? Who's back on the coaching staff? Is Ranger Suarez going to be re-signed? How about JT? How about Kyle Schwarber? How about Harrison Bader? There's a lot of time for that. Right now, I think my disappointment lies solely in the offense. Before we get to that, here's what's coming up on the PHLY Phillies podcast. I think we have to start with the offense tonight. It was lifeless for 3 out of 4 games. We'll talk about how the top 3 really hindered this team. We're going to get into that. We have to talk about how good the starting pitching was, and we'll include Ranger Suarez in that conversation because he piggybacked Aaron Nola with the plan, quote unquote, in Game 3, and it worked. And the starting pitching was excellent. And we'll finish up the show today asking the question, what now? What is the next step for this team? And we'll do that all in the next 50 some odd minutes of today's show. What's up, everybody? Tyler Zulli, Andrew Frazier producing today's show. We're broadcasting live from the Xfinity studio. We are brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Our postseason shows, as always, are brought to you by our friends over at TrueMark Financial Credit Union. I have to be honest with you. I have no notes for this game. I have no notes for this show. We did a post-game show last night. My thoughts haven't drifted too far other than the fact that they've drifted from anger to disappointment. But my thoughts haven't drifted all that far. And it's why we started yesterday's post-game show with this topic of conversation. And we're going to start today's show with this topic of conversation. The top three. It wasn't good enough. Trea Turner, Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber. For 3 out of 4 games, this team got nothing from its top three. They produced in Game 3, and it's a huge reason as to why the Phillies scored 8 runs, and it was their lone win of the game, of the series. But the top three in this one, Trea Turner, 4 for 17 of 551 OPS. Kyle Schwarber, 3 for 16. Now that 903 OPS looks a lot better than I think he played. He had 2 home runs in Game 3, which were 2 of his 3 hits in the series, and it's why the OPS is sizably higher than I think his series indicated. Bryce Harper, 3 for 15 with a 600 OPS. You roll it up into a ball, you put it into a vacuum, and you spit out the number that comes out to be 10 for 48 in the series. Trea Turner, 235. Kyle Schwarber, 188. Bryce Harper, 200 in the series. That's how you lose a series, guys. That's how you don't advance in an NLDS. That's how, in a series that was predicated by elite pitching on both sides, Cristopher Sanchez, Ranger Suarez, Jesus Luzardo, Shohei Ohtani, Blake Snell, and Tyler Glasnow, that is how you differentiate this series. Because for the most part, the Phillies did a really nice job with Shohei Ohtani. They did a fairly good job with Mookie Betts. They did a fairly good job with Teoscar Hernandez. But Teoscar Hernandez with the big 3-run home run in the Game 1 was the difference in that one. Mookie Betts, with Joan Duran on the mound, draws a critical walk to tie the game. It allows them to force extras and win it in extras yesterday. The Phillies' top three was not good enough. And I've seen a lot of people on Twitter over the last couple of days with the thought of we've given Bryce Harper some sort of pass. And we need to separate two things here. First and foremost, Bryce Harper's postseason numbers as a whole are elite. Bryce Harper's 2022 was an elite level performance. Bryce Harper's 2023 was very, very good. The team as a whole last year was not good. They hit 196. We'll dive into the team numbers in a little bit as well in 2025, excuse me. So there is a separation between Bryce Harper as like a total postseason player, has been one of the best postseason players in the history of baseball. He lines up with guys like Babe Ruth when it comes to those categories. We, however, can criticize Bryce Harper for the postseason that he had this October, this season. The at-bats were poor. And I have to be honest with you. We'll talk more about how the Phillies did a really nice job of getting after Shohei Ohtani. Inversely, the Dodgers did an excellent job of attacking Bryce Harper. I went through and I pulled a couple of at-bats. Now, these are just screenshots of where pitch locations were, but it gives you an idea of how the Dodgers wanted to attack Bryce Harper. These are 3 at-bats over the course of the series. One was against Roki Sasaki, one was against Alex Vesia, one was against Blake Snell. And I know they're a little bit difficult to see. The one to Alex Vesia ended up being a walk. He ends up battling and drawing the walk. Good at bat. But the thing that you notice there, whether it was a lefty on the mound in Snell or Vesia or a righty on the mound in Roki Sasaki, the game plan for Bryce Harper was the same. It was, you are not getting anything middle or middle in so that you can turn on it. We are going to make you go the other way and drive the baseball to left field, drive the baseball to left center field. And if you beat us with a hard hit ball in the left center field gap, so be it. But you are not turning on a pitch today. You are not turning on a pitch in this series and doing what you do best by getting your hands out over the plate and being able to turn on a baseball and drive it to right center field or over the right field wall. That at bat to Vesia, not a single, well, one of those pitches are considered a called strike. The rest of them, all on the outer half. Again, it was a walk, so it ended up being a good plate appearance. But look at that. Roki Sasaki, down and away, down and away, down and away. Splitter, splitter, splitter. Blake Snell, down and away, down and away, down and away. Slider, changeup, slider. Why did they do this? Well, I think quite frankly, it was point blank simple. Bryce Harper was trying to pull everything in this series. Bryce Harper was trying to hit a 3-run home run every at bat, regardless of the situation or how many runners were on. I have never seen Bryce Harper's head so far in right field in my life. This series, there have been valleys for Bryce Harper in the past. We've talked about a guy who struggled in April this year and struggled in April last year for that matter as well. And then, struggled in May last year as well. And then in June and July went on to win back-to-back National League Players of the Month. Has gone on to win MVPs as a member of the Phillies. This is one of the more critical clutch hitters in not just this run, but in Phillies sports run. In recent Phillies run. With that being said, Bryce Harper looked lost in this series, and he looked lost last night. Because there's only so many pitches that are thrown on the outer edge and beyond that are burned off the edge. And credit to where it's due. Sasaki's splitter was filthy last night. Blake Snell's everything was filthy. Tyler Glasnow was incredible last night. The only starter that did not pitch particularly well against the Phillies was Yoshinobu Yamamoto, because that was the only game it felt like the Phillies had a plan. But specifically thinking about Bryce Harper last night and specifically thinking about Bryce Harper in this series, I saw way too many hands thrown, head into the right, looking at like he's in the right field bleachers, front foot disengaged type of at-bats. Trying to drive balls to right field that were 1.5 feet over outside on the outer half of the plate. Trying to not take things the other way, not get the hands to go the other way. It looked like he was trying to pull everything. And it's not just Bryce Harper. Trea Turner did not have a particularly good series. Kyle Schwarber had 2 home runs in Game 3 and was 1 for 14 the rest of the way. This offense as a whole was not good enough. The Dodgers were extremely comfortable with the fact that they could just pitch around Alec Bohm of all people, because they knew that all of their lefties were going to be able to get Brandon Marsh. They knew for the fact that with the exception of JT Realmuto and Alec Bohm's at-bats later in the series, that they were going to be able to get what they wanted. And they did, and they executed. And that's, again, tip of the cap to them. But the offensive productivity this week was not good enough. It simply was not good enough. No one is above criticism in this series on the offensive side of things. We'll talk about the pitching because it was excellent for almost the entirety of the series. We're going to do that in the next segment. But no one in this lineup is beyond criticism in this series. I think JT had a pretty good series. I actually thought Alec Bohm had a pretty good series, all things considered. But it was, as a collective unit, it was not enough. It wasn't even close to enough. And there were far too many times in this series where the Phillies came up in critical spots and did not deliver. They were 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position yesterday. They were 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position in Game 2. They were 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position in Game 1. It's not going to get it done. You cannot win baseball games without scoring runs. That's the no-duh statement of the day. It's kind of like when you talk about elite-level goaltending play in hockey. Goalies cannot win you a game if you do not produce a goal. Pitching cannot win you a game if you do not produce some runs. I saw a stat today that basically said the Phillies offense had more hits, more runs, and more home runs in this series than the Dodgers did. Why did the Phillies lose? Because when the Dodgers needed a critical moment, whether it was a blunder by the Phillies or they took advantage, the Dodgers did it and the Phillies did not come up with it. Let's take a look real quickly into last night's bottom of the 11th. Dave Roberts sends up Max Muncy with Jesus Luzardo on the mound. Now, I think that Dave Roberts went, who's the best hitter on my bench? Bleep, lefty, bleep matchups, who is the best hitter on my bench? And the answer to that question was Max Muncy. Even with the fact that as a 170 hitter this season against left-handed pitching, the answer was Max Muncy. No questions asked, right? The answer was Max Muncy. And so he turned to him, and Muncy did a good job of delivering, got a base hit off of Jesus Luzardo in the ninth. They were able to extend the inning and ended up winning the game on a questionable decision, to say the least, by Orion Kerkering, but they put runners on and were able to execute. Muncy did a good job in delivering. Teoscar Hernandez in game one with the 3-run home run was the difference maker. There were too many times in this series where the Phillies offense came up small when they needed the most. In the losses, there you go. Vindicator puts it up. In the losses, Turner, Schwarber, Harper, 3 hits in 34 bats. It's a less than 100 batting average between the group. It's the PHLY Phillies podcast. Before we head out of the first break here, I want to welcome our second member of today's program into the show. He produced the post-game show last night. He was here with us. It's Andrew Frazier. Andrew, my friend, I don't feel any better. Not going to lie to you. I mean, I feel like I'm despondent today. Yesterday I was mad, and today I'm just like, I just feel like I'm in the doldrums today.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of us feel that way. The whole entire city feels that way, you know? Obviously, you know, we had 2 other games that went on, and we lost both of those.
Yesterday blew. Yesterday sucked. It was, and listen, we talked about it in the postgame show. Like, the team we probably expected to lose felt like they put together the most competitive
toughest
game.
out. They were the toughest loss out of the 3.
The Flyers went up against the defending Stanley Cup champs, a team that's already played this year.
Lost 2-1.
And lost 2-1.
And it was a good hard
and
fight.
And Vladar looked good. He made 32 saves on 34 shots.
Yeah.
But man,
yep.
What a miserable night for Philly sports.
Absolutely miserable night. And it just kept getting worse. It was just like the mountain just kept getting steeper, and you kept falling further and further. And yeah, I mean, I wanted to wake up and kind of feel at ease, but I don't. I feel a lot. I feel yesterday was very reactionary. If you were watching the live stream during our watch along, I think everybody saw our initial reactions to that out that we saw with Kerkering. You know, we were all in shock, and it has settled. And right now, it doesn't feel good. I hate sports, and I'm just you know. I'm here for it. Let's here to do my job.
So let's talk really quickly before we hit the break. Some of the stars in the postseason around baseball.
Yeah.
I think right now, perhaps the hottest hitter on the planet might be Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Guy's been unbelievable for the Blue Jays. It's a reason why he's a huge reason as to why they're heading to the ALCS for the first time in like a decade or almost a decade.
Yeah.
He has stepped up in critical moments.
Yeah.
Aaron Judge stepped up in game 3 to save the season, but Aaron Judge had an excellent postseason. He hit almost 500 for the postseason. Not a whole lot you can do if your team is giving up 9-10 runs a game. The Yankees pitching was brutal. Fried was bad. Rodon was bad. The bullpen was bad. Mm-hmm. But Aaron Judge had some critical moments. In this series, the 2 biggest superstars are Shohei Ohtani and Bryce Harper.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Shohei Ohtani was not particularly good offensively.
That was
horrible. He had a game-winning RBI in game 2, which was paramount, no doubt about it. But the Phillies had a really good game plan for him, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute.
Yeah.
They had a really good game plan for him. Bryce Harper, the Dodgers had a really good game plan for him. Those 2 guys were not particularly good in either of their series offensively. Now, Shohei added 6 really strong innings in game 1, which was a big reason as to why they won game 1, and we're talking strictly offensive here. But Shohei struck out almost 10 times in this series. Bryce Harper's at-bats had a couple of hard-hit balls, but they weren't very good. Somebody put in the chat, they were like, your stars got a star, and the Phillies stars, other than game 3, didn't star.
Yeah.
Right? They hit 3 home runs as a team in game 3. They were practically lifeless the other 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of where we get into the where do you go from here conversation, which we'll do throughout the postseason. Because we are in the offseason now, which sucks to say.
You can't go anywhere. You can't go anywhere. You have a bunch of albatross contracts that you can't get away from. What are you going to do? What can you actually do? Make managerial changes? Sure. Front office changes? Yes, you can do those. Get rid of the daycare? Yeah, time to close up shop. Kids are grown up. Get them the hell out of the daycare. I was literally about to curse there. I don't want to see
Please don't.
any one of those three on this team ever again. The only thing that you can walk away from this series is that the pitching was fantastic.
Excellent.
Now,
As we expected it to be, right?
Kirkering, different story. Enjoy your time in Colorado. The purple will look great on you. And I feel bad for the kid. I understand, like, that's a tough thing, 24 years old, but at the same time, he's a professional, and you can't feel bad for a professional at the same time. But from top to bottom, our pitching was phenomenal.
Yep.
Phenomenal. But you cannot ride only pitching. It doesn't work.
Well, like we said, you can only keep a game tied if your pitching gives up 0 and you score 0, right? And the pitching gave up 1 for 10 plus innings.
Yeah.
When your collective group gives up 1 earned run over 10 innings pitched to this Dodgers team, where you look across the aisle and you go Ohtani, Betts, Teo, Freeman, Muncy, Kike Hernandez is a postseason hero. Edman was a postseason hero last year. Will Smith. Andy Pages was awful in this postseason, but he hit 27 home runs in the regular season. And he was hitting 7, 8, or 9 in this series.
Yeah.
When you look across the aisle at the opposition, and those names are the names that you see in their lineup, and you hold them to 1 run over 10 innings, when you get an unbelievable performance from Cristopher Sanchez. And you know who I give a ton of credit to? Freaking Jesus Luzardo, man. 6 strong innings in game 2. It was his bullpen day, so he was going to be available. Thompson probably called in and said, hey, how much can you give me? And I bet you Luzardo went till my arm falls off.
Yeah.
You knew he was going to give everything he had, and he came out pumping strikes in those 2 innings of relief, and a ton of credit where it's due, because he was excellent in that 2 innings of relief as well. We're going to talk more about the pitching, but there is just a level that you cannot get past if your offense, once again, now for basically 8 out of the last 10 postseason games, because you got 1 offensive production game against the Mets, 1 offensive production game against the Dodgers, and none in the last 2 of the Diamondback series, games 6 and 7. You have now lost 8 of your last 10 postseason games.
Ugh.
And the formula for almost every single one of them has been pitching's really good, but the offense doesn't show up.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. What's the definition of insanity?
Bang my head against this brick wall behind me.
You do the same thing over and over again and never make a change. And how many times are we going to see a Phillies team that has top pitching, but no bat to help it out?
Let's talk about that pitching on the other side. We're going to try to figure out what the plan is going to be moving forward. Long offseason ahead of us, right? We're going to decide, is the manager back? Is the hitting coach back? I think the only guy who's definitively safe is Caleb Cotham. And I'll be honest with you, I think Caleb Cotham is probably due for a manager job in the next 2 years or so, because he's done an unbelievable job with this pitching staff. We'll talk about it all over the postseason, but right now we got to hit the break. It's the PHLY Phillies podcast. We'll be right back after this. Listen, if you're thinking about your offseason, you want to take a big vacation, or your home needs a little TLC, or you just need a little bit of a fixer-upper, TrueMark Financial HELOC Select is here to help. It just got even better with rates dropping, making it even more affordable to put your home's equity to work. Whether you need that new kitchen, or you got to repair the AC, or maybe you want to knock out some of that debt, student loan or otherwise, with HELOC Select, you can access your cash all at once or just when you need it. It is totally flexible, just like a good game plan can be. So make it happen today by visiting one of TrueMark's 24 branches, or head online to truemark.com/PHLY and get in the game today. Federally insured by the NCUA, equal opportunity lender, NMLS 404398. All right, let me tell you about our friends over at Bet365, because whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Find out why 90 million users worldwide have gotten to team up with our friends at Bet365. They are the pioneers of live in-game betting. Lines change all the time. Rich and Pat and I were looking at the lines for last night's game. The over-under in the 7th inning was 3.5 runs, and somehow the under still cashed. And you can continue to get in on those live lines as they change. And right now, new users use the code on the bottom of the screen or at the top right there, PHLY365. Deposit $10 and place a bet for $5, and you'll get $200 back in bonus bets, whether your bet wins or loses. You find out why it's never ordinary with Bet365. You can use those bonus bets on spreads, totals, player props, and futures, and so much more. And right now, PHLY365 gets you $200 back in bonus bets. Find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 and physically located in PA. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast. Tyler Zulli, Andrew Frazier. Hello to everybody in the chat. I see Dan, Nick Aube, Ed Wright. Is that June or John? I apologize to you. My apologies, but hello to you. Who else is in the chat here? Frank Barber is here. John Peace is here. Scott G is here. Who else do we have? Peter Tom Willis. Elephant in the room. Everybody that's been here, whether you're here for the postseason or you've been here with us all year, I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for being a part of today's show. Let's get into the good, because there was good this series. It just unfortunately happens that the good was the run prevention, and in run prevention only gets you so far. But the pitching was excellent. Hello, Molly and Barkley's life to you as well. Pitching was excellent in this series. There's no question about it. Between Cristopher Sanchez, Ranger Suarez, Aaron Nola even included in that list, and Jesus Luzardo. Here are the numbers from the starters and the Game 3 piggyback in this series. Cristopher Sanchez, Game 1, 5 2/3 innings, 2 earned runs, 8 strikeouts. Jesus Luzardo shoved in Game 2, 6 innings, 2 earned runs, 5 strikeouts. Game 3, the Nola Suarez plan, the piggyback, got 7 innings of 1-run ball, 7 strikeouts. And in Game 4, Cristopher Sanchez again last night, 6 1/3, 1 earned run, and 5 strikeouts. 25 innings pitched, 10 earned runs. That is a 2.16 ERA with 25 strikeouts over 5 games. An unbelievable job by this Phillies pitching staff. These 4 guys specifically. We expected nothing from Aaron Nola. We were questioning how healthy is Ranger Suarez. How healthy is he going to be able to go? Can Cristopher Sanchez, a second time in 5 days and for the 4th time this season, face the Dodgers and do it in a capacity that can keep the Phillies in a game and in a series? And the answer to this question was unwaveringly yes for all 4 of these games. Cristopher Sanchez is an ace. Cristopher Sanchez would be the number 1 on probably at least 2/3 of the rest of the league. There's some teams, obviously, it's not going to be Skubal, it's not going to be Skeens, probably not Crochet, but like more than half the league, probably close to 2/3 of the league, Cristopher Sanchez is the unquestioned, unrivaled number 1 ace of their staff. The Phillies are lucky to have a guy like him, where when Zach Wheeler went down for the year, who is the ace of the staff, when Zach Wheeler went down for the season, you are able to turn to Cristopher Sanchez and say, your time, my friend, step on up. And what did he do? Rewarded you in a big way and pitched the way that he did all season long. Cristopher Sanchez finished the regular season with a 2.50 ERA. He finished the regular season with 200 strikeouts for the first time in his career, with 200 innings for the first time in his career, getting close to a career high in WHIP. His changeup is devastating. It's one of the single best pitches in all of baseball. And when Tarik Skubal tells you his changeup's better than mine, that's how good it is, because Tarik Skubal's changeup is filthy. And he's one of the best pitchers, if not the best pitcher right now in the game of baseball. Cristopher Sanchez did everything he possibly could. And there was an image today, Andrew. I saw it on to those that are watching, Andrew, you know this, obviously. We have a photo service company that we get all of our images from, right? And there was a picture of Cristopher Sanchez kind of giving out high fives, going back through the dugout. Stone cold face. He looked pissed. And I got to be honest, I can't blame him. I'd have been pissed too. The guy was excellent in 2 starts. He went, 12 innings over the 2 starts, gave up 4 earned runs, struck out 13, and did it against this incredible Dodgers lineup for 2 starts in big moments when he had to be perfect, when he and Luzardo and Sanchez and Suarez and Nola were under the utmost microscope because your offense wasn't scoring any runs. He was as perfect as he could possibly be without giving up no earned runs. But to get out of this series with 12 innings pitched, 13 strikeouts, and 4 earned runs from your ace of your staff, because situationally, but an ace nonetheless, and to win neither of those games, that's disheartening. I think in yesterday's start, you can argue that the pull of Cristopher Sanchez, we talked of Joan Duran, right, and coming into the big moment. Game one, there's no question in my mind. I would have much rather Sanchez faced Call than Robertson faced Muncy. Now, it ended up working because he got Muncy to ground out. Sending Robertson back out for the 7th, different conversation. Stupid decision by Rob Thompson, but they ended up getting out of it. But I think in game one, I would have left him in. Game two, I'm okay with it because you're going to your elite level closer, right? Your best pitcher in your bullpen, the guy with the nastiest stuff in your bullpen. It didn't work. It ends up being a costly decision for them. But Cristopher Sanchez was elite. Yesterday, we had these numbers from Ranger Suarez. I think Ethan Hartley put this one together. It was Ranger Suarez's numbers over the postseason in his tenure. 2022, a 1.23 ERA. 2023, there it is, a 1.93 ERA. 2024, and Andrew, we talked about this yesterday. He was clearly not 100% in that start against the Mets, right? He gave them everything they possibly could have had in that start, and he went 4 1/3. And in this one, 5 innings of relief, a 1.8 ERA. That is, I'm going to try to do this quick math, 19, 23, 28, 42 1/3 innings pitched over the last 4 postseasons. Elite level performances from Ranger Suarez. And I got to tell you, we've talked a lot about Ranger. You and I have given him the utmost praise because we should, because he's a pitcher's pitcher. He's a guy who knows how to work backwards, change speeds, throw strikes, keep hitters off balance. If game 3 was the last time that we see Ranger Suarez in a Phillies uniform, I got to tell you, I love that guy. I got to tell you, he is to me one of my favorite pitchers of my life in a Phillies uniform. There's been better pitchers, Roy Halladay, Cole Hamels, this year Zach Wheeler and Cristopher Sanchez. There's been better pitchers, no doubt about it. But in my viewpoint, Ranger Suarez to me, one of my favorite pitchers to watch of the 32 years that, well, I've been alive for 32 years. I probably haven't been watching baseball for 32 years, but you get my point. Of the 32 years I've been on this earth, he is one of my favorite Phillies pitchers to watch because he knows how to go out and execute pitches. He knows how to keep hitters off balance. Doesn't throw particularly hard. Doesn't have a wipeout slider or a devastating changeup or a two-seamer that breaks bats and saws off bats. There have been better pitchers than Ranger Suarez. I have not had more fun watching many than Ranger Suarez. Love the dude. And if that's the last we see of him, thanks for everything you provided this Phillies team over the last 4 years. I hope they find a way to bring him back. I've been saying for a while, I don't think they will. I think a team is probably going to give him more money than they're willing to give him. We think about a Boston. We think about a Baltimore. I think about maybe a team that is average that's looking to get, a number 2 starter. In that particular situation, I think he's probably going to make more money than the Phillies are willing to command. He's going to command more money than the Phillies are willing to give, I should say. But my goodness, I am going to be sad seeing Ranger Suarez in another jersey.
And the reality is that is more than likely.
I think it probably is. I think Wednesday night was probably the last time we see Ranger Suarez in a Phillies jersey.
Yes.
He's a Scott Boras client. Boras is going to do everything he can to get as much money as he possibly can. I think Ranger Suarez has said in the past he loves it here. He called it his boyhood club, right? Because he signed when he was 16-ish or 17. He was a teenager when he signed out of Venezuela. He called it his boyhood club. It's the only professional team he's ever played for. I think if everything is created equal, Ranger would re-sign here over another team. If the money is close, Ranger might re-sign here. But if a team like a Baltimore or a Boston or somebody who needs to throw money at a mid to top end starter like Ranger Suarez, who could slide in as a team's 2, right? Especially if you could go crochet Ranger Bayo. I'm thinking about the Red Sox have been on my mind with Ranger for months now. That's why I bring them up. If the offer from the Phillies is 3 for $50 and a team comes in with 4 for $90, I'm just making numbers up. But I think that there is a very real chance that Wednesday was probably Ranger Suarez's last appearance as a Philly. And it hurts a little bit because I love watching the dude pitch. I've loved watching the dude pitch for a while now. Tough as nails out of the bullpen in the postseason, basically willing to do any role that he's tasked upon, but has become a better and better and better starter as the years go on. I know there was a little dip in the middle portions of the season. It was close to career highs in innings pitched and games started, and that was with missing April. But I got to be honest with you, if that's the last we see of Ranger Suarez, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt. But this starting pitching group as a whole was unbelievable in this postseason. They had a 2.16 ERA as a collective unit. We said that over 25 innings pitched, right? 10 earned runs. The Phillies won one game in this series. One game in this series with a 2.16 ERA from their starting pitching. And a bullpen that was serviceable enough. I thought the bullpen yesterday, other than the Duran walk and the Kerkering weirdo play, was pretty good. I thought Kerkering had two plays in this series where he made the right pitch, sawed off the bat of the hitter both times. Turner makes the bad throw at home plate for Teoscar Hernandez to score. They end up losing that game. Turner makes that play. Maybe Hernandez is out. It's a lot of if, right? It's the old saying, like what is it? If what's the saying? If my aunt had wheels, she'd be a bike. Yeah, something, you know what I mean? Like, I've seen that in our comments like a million times already because we were talking about hypotheticals, I guess. But Trea Turner's play at short. He makes that throw to the right side of the glove to JT. Maybe Teoscar Hernandez is out. Maybe Kerkering gets out of that inning unscathed. And then yesterday, he throws a really good two-seamer on the hands, runs it back, breaks the bat of Kike Hernandez, and then makes a bad play. And I don't know how to respond to that play other than it was a poor decision at the time. And you had plenty of time to gather yourself and throw to first because Pages, I think, had about 50 feet still to get up the line. You had him by plenty. But, I mean, it's little marginal stuff that made a difference in this series. Dodgers didn't hit particularly well. The pitching was excellent. I'll be honest with you. I thought Roki Sasaki last night, if he wanted to, probably could have pitched 5 innings and probably would have retired 15 in a row. That splitter is nasty. I mean, devastatingly nasty. And he was pumping 100 out of the bullpen. That's the Dodgers' formula for success in this postseason. They are going to do everything they can to have Glasnow, Sheehan, Sasaki, Vesia, and Banda pitch as many innings of the non-3 starters as they possibly can. You've seen it this series. When Blake Trinan came in game 2, Dave Roberts was trying his best not to have Roki Sasaki pitch in that game 2. He had to end up pitching in game 2 because he needed to shut the door out of the pen, but he tried to go to Trinan in the 9th, and it was a bad decision. Trinan was awful. He gave up 2 runs and allowed the Phillies to have some life. But the Dodgers' formula to success with their pitching is elite-level starting pitching, and that includes Yamamoto probably bouncing back in the NLCS and limiting the innings that are pitched by anybody else out of the bullpen that's not named Banda, Vesia, Sheehan, and I guess Glasnow in a long series. Phillies didn't take advantage of those innings. Phillies' offense was lifeless. Starting pitching was too darn good to have won one game. All right, let's take a break. On the other side, we'll just kind of continue to lament. I told you I don't really have a game plan today. We have this app that we use. It's a notes taker. It keeps all of our ad reads in one place, and it's kind of our all like knowing page. And Andrew, you can attest to this. I usually fill this thing out to the gills. I usually have like 3 hours worth of content for an hour-long show. I got nothing in there today. This is a vibe show, and the vibes are low. I got nothing to talk about in terms of like statistical, analytical stuff because we're here. We're here because I'm here so I don't get fined. Marshawn Lynch, right? That's how I feel today. Anyway, let's take a break. On the other side, we'll continue to lament this series. We'll kind of figure out Where do you go from here? What's the next step? It's the PHLY Phillies podcast. We'll be right back after this. All right, listen, whether you need a snapback, a fitted, a beanie, a trucker hat, or even a t-shirt, the place to go if you're looking to rock college gear, the best college gear on the market, is with our friends over at Branded Bills. Because if you're looking for gear that makes you stand out from the crowd, if you're looking for gear where somebody's going to go, man, where'd you get that hat? That's a sick hat. The Penn State hat that I have is awesome. But they do it in so many different styles and so many different teams. You can have any style you're looking for and any brand that you're looking for, and you're going to stand out with our friends over at Branded Bills. So start your order, and their dedicated team is going to help you create a custom exact apparel look that you're looking for. And if you're in the Philadelphia market or in the PA market and you are a Penn State fan, they've partnered with Penn State as part of their campus collection grouping. So head on over to brandedbills.com. Use the code BBPHLY for 15% off of your first order. Thanks to our friends over at Branded Bills for sponsoring today's show. All right, let's talk about our friends over at Parx Casino, because whether your hometown team wins, nobody won last night, there's always another way to win with Parx Casino. You can download the app today and check out all of the brand new casino games like Huff and More Puff and Fireblaze Sky Queen, which is a BetParx exclusive. It's the only app that I would ever use to play all of my favorite casino games and slot games right in the palm of my hand. You can play blackjack, roulette, slots, baccarat, craps, poker, and of course the hot online slots like 88 Fortunes and Cleopatra Online. And they've got slots games that are based on your favorite streaming shows like Squid Game, Breaking Bad, Peaky Blinders, The Walking Dead, and so much more. New users right now get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. Head on over to betparx.com, download the app today, and enjoy all of the action and excitement from the casino right at your fingertips. You must be 21 and in PA, New Jersey, Maryland, or Michigan for BetParx. You love to play, you play to win, you bet BetParx. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast. Tyler Zulli, Andrew Frazier. Hello to everybody in the chat. I got to ask you, Andrew. I've been thinking about this for a while. Somebody said the other day, I don't remember who it was on one of the PHLY shows. Maybe it was Pat. It was Pat Egan, one of the post-game shows.
Mm-hmm.
Have we gotten to, or are we going to very quickly get to Sixers level apathy with this Phillies team?
Yeah.
Are you there now?
I was at the start of it this past season. Like, I didn't invest. I love baseball. I love the Phillies. I've watched them my entire life. I get excited when the Phillies are on in the summer and, having them on the TV and sitting outside, having a drink and doing all of that stuff. It's a highlight for me. This season, I didn't really feel that much because I was expecting something more than just a regular season. I wanted to see them actually do something in the playoffs. And after being let down against the Diamondbacks, after being let down against the Mets, I don't care if they got the first seed or they got the wild card or if they had the best record in baseball or they did that, they did this. I wanted to see them do this, produce in the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going into this season after the Mets. I didn't really care too much about what was going to happen during this regular season. So when we got to here, okay, we're here. We're finally here. We're in October. Let's see what this team can do. Flat on their face. So for me personally, am I going to be investing in the regular season next year? No. Do I think that the city's going to be doing the same thing? Yes, because we don't care about the regular season anymore. We want to see this team win a goddamn World Series, and they're just not doing it.
So this team over the last 3 years have won 87, 90, 95, and 96. So based on the numbers of the regular season, they have gotten numerically better each of the last 4 years, which is great to tell a story for when you're talking about the Milwaukee Brewers or the Chicago Cubs, like somebody in a team in another city. And I'm sure there's going to be fans that, in other cities that go, the Phillies have won 90 games 3 years in a row. They've won the division twice. They were in a World Series not that long ago. Like, this is a good run, right? When you do it with your eyes glued to the TV for 162 games plus the postseason, you start to peel back the curtain of, yeah, sure, regular season success has been here. There's no question about it. And it's why when you and I talked, I think I asked you this question in maybe late June, early July. And I said to you, what type of team do you think has a better chance of winning a postseason series and making a deep run? The team like the Phillies, who are stacked in terms of starting pitching, and have a peaks and valleys offense, or a team at the time we were talking about the Chicago Cubs who have started to figure their pitching out a little bit. Cade Horton was obviously hasn't pitched in this series, but was a revelation for them down the stretch. Matthew Boyd's had an incredible year. Imanaga is pitching well. But at the time, we were like, do you worry about the Cubs starters in the postseason? The answer was probably not really, but it's an offense that can rake, can score in bunches. It's an offense that didn't really score in the first couple of games and has broken out in big ways in games 3 and 4. And it's a reason as to why they have forced a game 5 against the Brewers. They did it against Freddie Peralta last night.
Yeah.
Was it Michael Busch? I think it was. Hit an absolute bomb early against Peralta, right?
Yeah.
Made it 3-0 and set the tone. And it was a big reason as to why they won 6-0 last night. And, they scored 3 in the first, added a couple in the 6th, or added 1 in the 6th and the 7th and the 8th. And it's a good lineup, right? It's one that I think from top to bottom has a lot of productivity. Nico Horner is on a heater when it comes to the postseason. He's hitting .429, and they're not getting some productivity from Happ. They're not, except for last night, they're not getting a productivity from Carson Kelly, right? But it's a team that offensively, when they're at their best, can put them up in bunches. And I asked you that question, which of those two teams would you prefer to be? And your response was the offensive one, because that's the type of team that even if your pitching is not strong on a given night, you're never out of the game.
Yes.
When you look at how the Phillies faltered in this series, their pitching was excellent. But last night they're up 1-0.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel comfortable. A couple nights ago, they're down, was it 2-1 or 2-0? I forget what it was, but it felt like it was an insurmountable lead because the offense wasn't producing.
Yeah.
When you have this type of team, now for 3 consecutive, well, I shouldn't say 3 consecutive postseasons. I should say 2 consecutive postseasons and the final 2 games. So the last 10 postseason games for this unit, they've offensively produced twice. They were shut down by Zach Gallen. They were shut down by, was it Fott or Kelly? Whichever, I think it was Kelly. Shut down by Kelly. They were shut down by Senga. They were shut down by Minaya. They were shut down. Now, I'm going to go to the Dodgers, and it's an elite level pitching staff, right? They were shut down by Shohei and Glasnow and Snell, right? The only guy they got to was Yamamoto because they felt like they actually had a plan against Yamamoto. But it really did not feel like there was a whole lot of offensive plan. And when you get down 1-0 or 2-0, it feels like it's insurmountable. And you're up yesterday early in the game. Dodgers tie it. It's 1-1. And as Pat kind of alluded to in the postgame show, you're basically waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah.
Which, when your pitching is as good as it was in this series, you shouldn't have to feel like that.
Yeah.
But you do. One thing I want to get into really quickly before we kind of think about all of these postseason failures over the last couple of years is we were complaining about the umpires last night. I don't think the home plate umpire was very good. I think, the umpire scorecard dictates that he wasn't particularly good, about a 92% overall accuracy. But of all of the complaints that we have, that's probably number like 10, 11, 12 as to why the Phillies didn't win yesterday. And it's probably like 15 as to why the Phillies didn't win the series. But it is real. And the umpire scorecard from yesterday came out. And Andrew, you want to take a guess at what the number 1 most impactful single pitch was that was called missed call of yesterday's game?
It was the Sanchez call.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cristopher Sanchez, 2-2 pitch to Alec Call. It was ruled a ball. It was strike 3. It should have been a called strike. I don't care. I'll be honest with you. Story came out today. Umpire apologized to him apparently after the game. Was like, oh, sorry, I missed a call, blah, 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 whatever. I don't care. It doesn't change. There is not ABS cannot get here soon enough because there is not a sense of accountability on that pitch. That individual pitch let me rephrase that. That individual pitch is not the reason as to why the Phillies lost, but it was an impactful pitch because later in the inning, the Dodgers scored their first run because of the Mookie Betts walk. That pitch gets called strike 3. It does change the complexity of that inning. Does it change the fact that the Phillies offense was lifeless? No, it does not. Does it change the fact that Orion Kerkering made one of the worst defensive decisions I've ever seen? No, it does not. Does it change the fact that Rob Thompson was not good for a majority of this series? No, it does not. But I gotta be honest with you. The apology story coming out, I wish it wouldn't have come out. I wish it wouldn't have, because it doesn't do anything for me. It's one pitch in the series of thousands of pitches or hundreds of pitches in a 4-game set. But it did change the complexity of the inning. And that's frustrating. That's a frustrating place to be when it does feel like it was the monumental pitch of that game, at least of that inning. All right, let's pause. We got one more break to hit on the other side. I want to kind of line up these postseasons and figure out which of these, where does this sit? Where does this one sit in the last 4 years of postseason disappointments? From World Series to NLCS to consecutive DS losses, where does this one sit with you? It's the PHLY Phillies. I almost said the postgame show. That's what we've been doing recently. It's the PHLY Phillies podcast. Tyler Zulli, Andrew Frazier here. We're brought to you by our friends over at Bet365, and we will be right back after this. All right, you remember where you were and how it happened when Brandon Graham strip sacked the GOAT for the first Philly Super Bowl ever, right? Well, now BG is bringing us his Crooked T strip sack pack so we can savor the flavor. What's in a strip sack pack? Well, it's big, it's heavy, it's juicy, and it's the kind that you want to show off because Crooked T is an incredible new drink. 0 sugar, all the flavor. And the strip sack pack is stuffed with 24 cans and collectible trading cards by Jordan Spector. We opened up a pack the other day. They're really, really cool. Some cards are even signed by the man, BG himself, and that's why every case is packing heat. From the fridge to the tailgate, this is the one sack that you're going to be proud to display. So grab yours today at a store near you or on GoPuff. And for our guy, BG, we have to send a shout out to the Philly area bars that are carrying Crooked Teas and say thank you for some love. Sport and Social, Allentown, Garage, Fishtown, City Tap in Logan Square, Wicket Wolf in Chestnut. Go check them out on game day or a night out and tell them that we here at the PHLY Sports Crew sent you. And while we're here, let me tell you about our friends over at Ace Hardware Home Services. You know they're the folks, the helpful hardware folks, but did you know they're also the helpful hardware home service team? And the weather starting to get chilly. It's going to rain all weekend. It's kind of emblematic of how we're feeling this weekend and this week with Philly sports. The last thing you need when the weather turns chilly is for your home projects to pile up. And with Ace Hardware Home Services, they bring the trusted local pros right to your door to help you get your home ready for the colder months. From heating tune-ups to plumbing fixes to generators and emergency repairs, their experts handle it all with no guesswork, no stress. It's just the local pros who get the job done right. Satisfaction guaranteed. Find the help that you need with the next home project at acehardwarehomeservices.com. Welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast. Hello to everybody in the chat once again. An update, Elephant in the Room, Seth F., Futz, Provolone John. Want to appreciate you all for being here. Everybody who was with us for all season or the postseason or just now. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. All right, Andrew, we talked a little bit about this last night, and I don't want to do this exercise, but I feel like we kind of have to at this point because it is the definition of insanity, and they are going in the wrong direction. They've lost in the World Series. They lost in the CS, and now they've lost consecutive years in the NLDS. The core is not getting any younger. It is a core that is veteran-laden between Bryce Harper and Trea Turner, Kyle Schwarber, JT Realmuto. It's a veteran-laden core, and I think there's going to be a lot of questions throughout the year throughout the offseason of how do you make changes, how do you improve this roster with a lot of contracts that are pretty steep.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that in just a little bit, but let's talk about these 4 series losses.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was thinking about this last night, and I said I wasn't sure where this one sat. And I think in terms of the 4 series losses, this one is the second worst for me. I wasn't sure if it was 2 or 3, but I think it comes in at second. So for me, the easiest to stomach is the Astros series. You got to the World Series. It was an improbable run. We weren't expecting the Phillies to be there. They took us into a late October push.
Yeah.
And sure, they were up 2-1 in the series and lost that series. They won a game in Houston and brought the series back 2-1 heading into game 4. They end up getting no hit. They lose the series 4-2. But as we look back, the Astros were a juggernaut. They were an elite level team who had an incredible pitching staff, whose offense was fueled by one of the most fearsome power hitters in baseball at the time in Yordan Alvarez. And I think the Phillies were cooked. Jose Alvarado was cooked. He threw a lot of innings. They basically were on the road for like a month straight, and they did everything they could to get to the World Series. It was a fun run. That's fourth for me. Number 3 is actually last year's Mets series, because I think now that we look back on it, we can kind of take the fandom glasses off. They weren't ever going to win that series. They were playing bad baseball in the second half of the year. They were a 500 team halfway through, from the All-Star break on. They were leaking oil every which way. The Mets were the hot team heading into the postseason. They ran that, they rode that big late inning heroic home run from Pete Alonso off of Devin Williams into the DS and beat up on the Phillies. That one, to me, like, I look back on it, it sucks because they lost in the DS. It sucks because of how they started the year at 41-20 or whatever they were. It was an unbelievable start to the year. But we can look back on that one now, I think a year removed, and realize they weren't playing good baseball at that time. That's where the Dodgers series, this past Dodgers series, come in. And that's number 2 for me, because the Dodgers were the better team in this roster construction. They're the better team. But the Phillies had their chances. As I said, they had more hits, they had more home runs, they had more runs scored. Now, a lot of that was due in part to the 12-hit, 8-run performance in Game 3, but they had their chances. And the Dodgers' offense wasn't particularly strong. It was just a really well-pitched series on both sides, and the Phillies did not take their opportunities and run with them, and the Dodgers did, and it's why they're heading to the CS, and it's why I think they're going to win the World Series. But the Phillies didn't, and that's why it falls at number 2. Number 1 is obvious. Like, you blew a 3-2 lead at home against an 84-win wildcard team. You were up 2-0. After those first 2 games against the Diamondbacks, Andrew, if you would have told me the Phillies were going to sweep the series, I might have believed you. They obliterated them in the first 2 games. They were the better team by large margins. Diamondbacks crawl back. It was 2-1. The Phillies go back to CBP for Game 6, up 3-2. Don't win that game. Don't win Game 7. Do they beat the Rangers in the World Series? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. It's a hypothetical. They have a pretty darn good chance. To me, 2023 was the year of this group to win a World Series. Didn't get it done. I think that one's going to haunt me the most, is 2023. How do you kind of place them?
Yeah, I would probably say very similar to like what you just said. My number 1 is definitely that Diamondback series. That was just there. Not anything is nothing's like sure. You have no sure like win or anything, but I had a really good feeling that if they had beaten that Diamondbacks team, that they were going to go and beat that Rangers team, no problem.
Sure.
I had a very good feeling about that. Yeah, the Astros World Series, as much as it is a bummer that like they got there and they lost, like they weren't expected to get there, and it was just the fun of the ride and like just the magic of that season, being able to get to that point, showing us that they had like true potential to be a really good team. That was exciting, and I kind of wish it never happened because that caused this. That caused, oh, we're here. It put the little glimmer of hope in your eyeball that you're like, oh, this team can actually become a World Series team and be good. Wrong. No, because they're just going to fall flat on their face every postseason series that they play in. Because next, it's the Mets, and how horrible that was against the Mets. And then this one. So I would probably say it would be number 5 would be the Astros. I'd probably say, I hate to say it, but I think this one is probably number 4.
Okay.
Number 3 would probably be, it's only 4. So number 2 would be the Mets one, and then number 1 is the Diamondbacks.
And I don't even think it's close, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That Diamondbacks series, like, listen, their pitching, their bullpen was dreadful heading into the trade deadline, and they caught fire.
Yeah.
It was a team that caught fire down the stretch, and they had a bunch of guys who way overperformed in their bullpen. Bunch of a young core. Like, I'm a huge Ketel Marte fan. I love watching him play. But Perdomo was excellent. Corbin Carroll was excellent. Alec Thomas was excellent. But that team as a whole was not ready to compete at a World Series level. The Phillies were. And I think even if you don't beat Texas that year, you're probably looking at this a little bit different, where you go, well, it did go to back-to-back World Series. Like, that gives you a little bit of flexibility. Not a ton. It doesn't make you feel a whole lot better because you lose back-to-back World Series. That sucks. But I think even if they get to the World Series, we're feeling a little bit better about this thing. You've now headed in the wrong direction. 3 straight years and then basically stagnation for year 4, which basically tells you that the ceiling of this core, if they're not going to hit, is a really good regular season team.
That's all they are.
And that's not enough
They're a
for
regular
any
season team.
fans to have a whole lot of hope heading into 2026.
Let's keep getting our NL East champion pennants. Let's keep flying those, because that's all we're ever going to get with this team. So if that's all you want, if that's your high mark, is the NL East the division champions, enjoy the team all you want.
All right. Well, we got a long offseason to break it all down. Is the manager back? Is the hitting coach back? What does the free agent offseason look like? The free agents that coming up in this offseason include Kyle Schwarber, JT Realmuto, Ranger Suarez, a mutual option for Harrison Bader. It'll be a lot of question marks surrounding this team. One final year of arbitration for Alec Boehm and for Jesus Luzardo. Be a lot of questions to see how this team looks in 2026, and we'll kind of start to do it next week. But we had to lament in this one more time because we're still frustrated. We're still disappointed. Big thanks to everybody in the chat. Thank you so much for being a part of this show today. To Charles, to Futz, to Kirk, to Ed Wright, to Crazy, Provolone John, Randy Rubart, Molly and Barkley's Life, Frank Barber, Seth F., Elephant in the Room, Ed Wright, Kirk. I think I said Kirk already, but Joshua, Dan, everybody that's here, thank you so much for being a part of today's show. We'll be back on Monday at noon as we kind of really kickstart the offseason. Phillies fall 2-1 to the LA Dodgers in Game 4 of the NLDS, and the season is over in the division series for the second consecutive year, and it's going to be a very, very long winter for this Phillies team. We'll talk to you on Monday at noon right here on the PHLY Phillies podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.